Ever wondered how your favorite loaf of bread goes from dough to deliciousness? Well, grab a slice and get ready to find out. We're taking you behind the scenes of a bread factory where the dough is kneaded, baked and packaged faster than you can say sourdough. And trust us, there's a lot more going on than just throwing flour into an oven. From machines that literally handle your dough with care, to the magical moment it rises to perfection. You'll be amazed and probably hungry by the end of this. Let's slice into the world of industrial bread making. Because who doesn't want to know how those golden loaves are created at mega speed? Ever wonder how they make enough dough for millions of loaves? Let's check out the mixing magic that happens in bread factories. Picture a room filled with giant silos holding tons of flour. How do they move all that flour around? They've got a 10-kilometer network of pipes. It's like a giant edible highway system for flour. Now, the real stars of the show are the mixers. These aren't your regular kitchen appliances. Think of them as the heavy-duty chefs of the factory, whipping up vast quantities of dough with the precision of a conductor leading an orchestra. These industrial-strength monsters can handle up to 2,000 pounds of dough at once. That's enough to feed a small army. These mixers are all about precision. Each ingredient is added in exact amounts to get the dough just right. For a typical batch, they use about 600 kilograms, or 1,320 pounds, of flour. Can you imagine trying to lift that? But flour alone doesn't make bread. Time to add the other ingredients that give bread its flavor and texture. Yeast helps the bread rise. Oil keeps things moist. Vinegar adds a bit of tang. Sugar brings a touch of sweetness. And salt brings out all the flavors. And don't forget the water. It might seem boring, but water is super important for mixing everything together. Now, check this out. The mixer blades can spin at 360 rotations per minute. That's 6 full rotations every second. It's so fast, you'd probably get dizzy just watching it. The mixing process usually takes about 8 minutes. That might seem long, but remember, we're dealing with 2,000 pounds of dough here. In those 8 minutes, the mixer is doing some pretty important work. It's making sure all the ingredients are evenly mixed, incorporating air into the dough, which is super important for making bread light and fluffy, and kneading the dough to develop the gluten. Without proper kneading, your bread would be flat and dense. No one wants a loaf that could double as a doorstop. By the end, the ingredients have transformed into a sticky, elastic dough. It might not look appetizing yet, but trust me, it's perfect for making bread. This elasticity is crucial for the next steps in the bread making process. The precision in this mixing step is super important. Get it wrong and the whole batch could be ruined. Too much mixing and the bread will be tough, not enough, and it won't rise properly. It's like a science experiment and a baking lesson all rolled into one. Imagine the awe of watching such precision in action. It's truly a sight to behold in these bread factories. All right, let's dive into the next step of our bread making adventure. We've got our dough all mixed up, but it's just one big blob. How do we turn that into the perfect loaf shapes we see on store shelves? Well, get ready for some serious dough acrobatics. Imagine a synchronized sports team executing perfect plays. That's exactly what happens with our star machines, the dough divider and molder. These gadgets work together like clockwork to transform that blob into beautiful loaves. First up, we've got the dough divider. This nifty machine is like a dough cutting ninja. It pushes the dough through a small opening and slices it up faster than you can say sandwich time. We're talking 192 pieces per minute. That's more than 3 pieces every second. But we're not done yet. These freshly cut dough pieces need a bit of TLC to get that perfect loaf shape we all know and love. Enter the molder, the gymnast of the bread world. This is where the real magic happens. The molder takes those dough balls and puts them through what can only be described as a dough gymnastics routine. It folds, rolls, twists and turns, all at lightning speed. It's like watching a dough Olympics, but way faster and with less spandex. Now, you might be wondering, why all this shaping anyway? Can't we just bake the dough balls and call it a day? Well, not quite. This shaping process is super important. The way the dough is folded and rolled actually affects how it rises and how the bread turns out in the end. It's like giving the dough a roadmap for how to grow up into a proper loaf. And let's not forget about consistency. When you buy a loaf of bread, you expect it to look the same as the one you bought last week, right? That's where these machines really shine. They make sure every single loaf is shaped the same way, so you don't end up with any weird-looking bread surprises. Before the dough goes into the molder, it gets a light dusting of flour. It's like putting baby powder on a wrestler. It stops things from getting too sticky. This little flour shower helps the dough travel smoothly through the machine without getting stuck or torn. These machines are designed to work quickly and efficiently. Each part has its job, and they all work together seamlessly to keep the dough moving through the process. In just 1 hour, this molder can shape a whopping 11,500 loaves. That's 3 loaves every single second. So there you have it, the amazing world of dough shaping. It's not just about looks, it's about creating the perfect texture and flavor in every bite. Pretty cool, huh? We've seen the dough get shaped at lightning speed, but hold on to your chef's hat. The real transformation is just beginning. Ever wonder why bread smells so heavenly? It's not the oven that deserves all the credit. Let's peek behind the curtain at the unsung hero of bread making, the fermentation chamber. Picture this, a massive room filled with rows upon rows of dough, all patiently waiting their turn. This isn't your grandma's kitchen counter where a single loaf rises under a tea towel. We're talking industrial-scale fermentation here, folks. Now you might be thinking, can't we just pop these loaves in the oven already? Not so fast. This waiting game is crucial. Too little time, and you'd end up with a brick instead of bread. Too much, and the dough might collapse faster than a failed soufflé. So what's happening in this room of rising dough? Well, it's like a spa day for our bread-to-be. The temperature's carefully controlled at a cozy 45 degrees Celsius, 113 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the perfect climate for our tiny yeast friends to get to work. They're munching away on sugars, creating bubbles of carbon dioxide that slowly inflate the dough. Let's zoom in on one of these loaves. If we could shrink down and take a tour inside, we'd see thousands of tiny air pockets forming. It's like the dough is getting a bubble bath from the inside out. These bubbles are what give bread its soft, fluffy texture. Without them, your sandwich would be more like a medieval weapon than a tasty lunch. But this fermentation process isn't just about making the dough bigger. There's some serious flavor science happening here too. As the yeast goes about its bubbly business, it's also creating compounds that give bread its distinctive taste and aroma. It's like a flavor factory in there. Time passes slowly in the fermentation chamber, but for good reason. The dough transforms from a dense lump into a light, airy masterpiece in the making. It's gone through a real glow-up, and it's not even hit the oven yet. You know how some people say patience is a virtue? Well, in bread making, it's an absolute necessity. This slow rise is what separates good bread from great bread. It's the difference between a loaf that makes you say meh and one that makes you go mmm. But wait, there's more. Once the dough has finished its spa treatment, it's not quite ready for the oven just yet. Remember those air bubbles we talked about? Well, they need a bit of rearranging. The dough gets another quick workout. It's stretched and shaped one more time. This helps distribute those bubbles evenly and gives the bread its final structure. It's like the dough's last yoga session before the big bake. Alright, let's turn up the heat and see what happens when our dough hits the oven. Remember how we've been talking about all those air bubbles in our dough? Well, they're about to throw a party, and you're invited to watch. Now, baking thousands of loaves at once is a big deal. We're talking about a mega oven that's 39 meters long, longer than a tennis court. Inside this giant, things are heating up to a toasty 260 degrees Celsius, 500 degrees Fahrenheit. Can you feel the heat? Let's take a peek at how this baking bonanza works. Our perfectly proofed dough loaves enter one end of the oven, ready to transform. As they make their way through this bread baking highway, something magical happens. You might think that all we need is heat, but there's more to it. These industrial ovens use fancy air circulation systems to make sure every loaf gets even baking. It's like a spa day for bread, with hot air massages included. Now, here's where the science kicks in. As our bread bakes, it undergoes a special transformation called the Maillard reaction. Ever wonder why your toast turns golden brown and smells so good? That's the Maillard reaction at work. It's what gives our bread its gorgeous color and that irresistible aroma. Here's the cool part. All of this baking magic happens in just 20 minutes. In that short span, our dough goes from pale and squishy to golden and crusty. It's like a makeover show, but for bread. Let's talk about what's happening inside those loaves as they bake. Remember all those little air bubbles we worked so hard to create? As the heat hits them, they start to expand. This expansion is what gives our bread its final rise, and that soft, fluffy texture we all love. The baking process is also developing all those complex flavors that make bread so delicious. The Maillard reaction isn't just responsible for the color. It's creating hundreds of different flavor compounds. That's why freshly baked bread smells so amazing. It could probably bring world peace if we tried hard enough. As our loaves make their journey through this baking behemoth, they're transforming from humble dough to the star of your sandwich. It's like watching a butterfly emerge from its cocoon, except this butterfly is crusty, golden, and smells like heaven. You might be wondering how they make sure every single loaf comes out perfect. Well, these industrial ovens are like the Swiss watches of the baking world. Precise, reliable, and always on time. They use high-tech sensors and computer controls to maintain the perfect temperature and baking time for every batch. It's pretty impressive stuff. Wow, what a journey we've seen. From tiny yeast to golden loaves. These factories are churning out 1.5 million loaves every week. That's enough sandwiches to feed a small army. In just 5.5 hours, raw ingredients become perfectly packaged slices. It's like magic, but with a whole lot of science and engineering thrown in. Next time you bite into a sandwich, remember the incredible journey behind that slice. From massive mixers to precision-controlled ovens, there's a whole world making sure your bread is just right. Ever wonder how many hands and machines touched your toast this morning? It's amazing how technology turns simple ingredients into our daily bread. What other everyday items have secret lives we don't know about? Take a look at the other videos on this channel to be amazed.